So Royal Bank of Scotland has announced those branch closures resulting in 680 job losses. It's the latest round of closures at the bank, which is state-owned, because it follows that 180 announced in March. The bank says it wants to reduce costs and encourage customers to use online and mobile services. Well, to discuss more about this, let's talk to Chris Roebuck, who's visiting professor at Cass Business School. He's also previously worked in human resources at UBS, KPMG and HSBC. So, given your experience, what do you make of this decision? Doesn't RBS risk alienating its core customers?
I think we all have to accept that there's been a fundamental change in the way we work with organisations. And at its most basic, this isn't just about RBS, this is about a much wider picture. It's about the fact that we're all moving away from bricks and mortar to online. Now, that's great for these organisations, but they all have to accept that within that process, there may be people within the customer group who are either unable to move online or for whom it might not be appropriate. And the responsibility is not just to make money for their investors. It's the 21st century. We have to accept that the leaders of these organisations need to recognise the social responsibility they have, particularly to communities where they have a critical part of the community structure.
Yeah, and it's not just communities or people who can't, in those communities, who can't access online. They might not have computers or mobile phones, for example. It's also business customers, isn't it? Because plenty of people still use cheques and they simply won't be able to bank them so easily, and that could drive them away.
I think the critical part is that it's about understanding what your customers want and making sure that you service your entire customer base. And if you are going to withdraw those services, you need to find a solution, particularly for customers who could be significantly disadvantaged, like small businesses or the elderly. Small businesses have a lot of cash. They have to do something with it.
However, Ross McEwan, the chief executive, has a goal, that is to return the bank to profitability, which he says he's on track to do by next year. And that is key, isn't it, to make sure the taxpayer doesn't lose out.
Absolutely. As with all of these things, in terms of the leadership of organisations like this, they have to balance what they do in terms of making as much money as possible with making that money in a way that is seen to be socially acceptable. As I say, this is the 21st century. You cannot just make commercial decisions that have significant impacts upon communities in a way that you don't suffer any consequences if there are negative impacts.
OK, Chris Roebuck, visiting professor at Cass Business School, economist, thank you very much for